If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
Today's chat's been sponsored by Online Horse College. If you'd like to enrol in a horse course that's government accredited, internationally recognised, then have a look at the wide variety of equine courses at Online Horse College. Simply go to Online Horse College and click on your area of interest. Our guest today is Ian Bidstrup. Ian's known to quite a few people within the area of equine. He's a veterinarian who specialises in spinal health, and we'll expand on what he actually does a little bit more. How are you today, Ian?
I'm very well, thanks, Glenys. Yourself?
I'm well. Yeah, very good. Ian, if I introduce you as a veterinarian who specialises in spinal health, you do so much more than that. But I know that if I started to explain exactly what you do, I probably wouldn't do it justice. So would you like to just expand a bit more on what your areas, because you've done quite a lot of study since you became a vet as well. Can you expand a bit on what you do?
Yes. I'm not a specialist as such. To be a specialist is jumping over some big hurdles that are not really available in Australia. My full-time practice for the last 20 years is treating spinal problems in horses particularly, but also dogs. So my approach to that involves veterinary chiropractic, veterinary acupuncture, and medical therapy, or regenerative injection therapy that helps strain tissues, particularly around the spine and shoulders and the hips. The other side of it is making sure that the saddle is suitable and fitting well to the horse.
Okay.
Which is often a real problem in spinal health.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about some of those areas. But first of all, before we even start, Ian, do you have a favourite quote or something that you say to your clients often, something you'd like to talk about?
A favourite quote is one that is one of my favourites, and that's from a medical physician and educator by the name of John McLeod.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Scottish doctor and professor. He said there's a tendency to examine according to habit, to see only what we look for and believe in, to recognise only what we know. And I think this, through medical science and through veterinary science, this stands out as a huge issue. The more we know about something, the more knowledge we have, and the more we look for it and examine for it, then it becomes where our knowledge of that problem grows and grows. Whereas if we don't know much about it and tend to ignore it, then we might say it's really not a problem without knowing that's the case.
Okay.
And the other quote that I really like is that we usually hear what we want to hear and believe what it suits us to believe. I think that goes through our whole population and every age group as well. And so I think that resounds so often.
Mm-hmm. Just thinking about these two quotes, is hearing what we want to hear and believing what we want to hear, is that a habit? Is that going back to, like you're talking about examining according to habit, is hearing what we want to and believing what we want to developed into a habit?
I think it puts us into a comfort zone, but also, when someone might have cancer and doesn't want to hear that they've got cancer, or someone might be getting old and doesn't want to hear they've got arthritis, and likewise, if their horse is getting certain problems, it just doesn't suit them to believe that, because it might, if they're getting back pain from the saddle, it might suit them to believe that, because that means that the beautiful saddle that they love may not be appropriate for their horse,
mm-hmm.
and they don't want to believe that. So that's how it can come through with horses.
Okay.
In just one instance.
Yes. Just thinking about you as a young vet, finished university, you qualified as a vet. What brought you to decide to do further study in the area of spinal? Was it something that you'd always planned to do, or something that happened once you were already qualified as a vet? Was there any particular instances or just something ongoing? What brought that on?
It wasn't something I really thought I'd be heading towards, but I did have an influence early in my student days of a veterinarian who did a lot of spinal work up at Oakey in Queensland.
Yep.
And that was just one of the windows of information that opened me to it, but also as a regular veterinarian treating horses on a daily basis, I found that there were problems in horses that we weren't addressing, particularly of the upper body and back, and weren't, all we had really to offer was rest and phenylbutazone, and I thought that's pretty poor. And I had, people saying that massage could help their horse or whatever, and I was open to thinking, well, that's, some vets think, that's a lot of rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
But I was open to thinking there may be some truth in that. And then I followed on from there, gradually, and I just found myself on a path of that led me to know more and find out more, and gradually I just got deeper and deeper into this side of veterinary care.
So, because I'm going to say, because you've sort of gone and, as you say, deeper and deeper, the whole study habit, is it that you've finished one thing, you've got the qualifications there, you've got the knowledge, and then you find another area that goes a bit deeper? Is it continual, or do you have breaks in between for a couple of years? What happens?
I daily study, you could say, just about.
Yep.
As well as what you learn from treating horses, which gives you some information, and experimenting with extrapolating on one thing in one area to how it affects other areas. As well as that, because you've got to have the background knowledge to really do the job properly. You've got to build on that and grow that. And I thought this was a narrow field when I first got into it, and I would be able to be on top of it quite easily, and it would have given me plenty of time that I might be able to ride my own horse.
Yes.
But it's just mind-boggling, the amount of information out there, and the necessity of having a lot of background training yourself to be able to interpret that information in such a way that is most beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's lots of interpretation of the same information, I find, and I'm not in agreement with some of the interpretations out there when it comes to how the spine is functioning or why it's not functioning. And without the background knowledge, it's hard to do that.
And these, interpretations that you don't agree with, are they from laymen, from horse practitioners, people that are just working with horses but not qualified as vets? Or is it science-based that you're not quite sure that that's been researched correctly?
And some of it's from veterinarians and some of it's from lay people. Certainly in the lay realm, there's lots of myths and misunderstanding, huge amount.
Yep.
And a lot of basically bunkum that's spoken, but even in some of the veterinary realms that people are well qualified to make a comment, I don't always have the same interpretation on the information, the research information as they would. A lot of it I'll have the same, but I'll use the information differently with a different background. It's a matter of just different perspectives on the same problem. And this is, it's important to have different perspectives, and we each learn from having a different perspective. So that's so important. But sometimes I think some people head down too heavily down one path and don't look sideways at all at the other perspectives and don't think for a moment that they may perhaps be wrong and just continue down the path. And I'm always wary of that and trying to be scrutinising my thoughts and my knowledge all the time and listening to what's happening elsewhere.
Yeah. Is this where people are examining according to habit and according to what they know? They're looking for something in particular?
Examining according to their training and their knowledge, not necessarily their habit, is so much the case.
What about, the misinterpretations, misunderstandings? What's a common one that the lay person might believe that you'd like to get the message out and say, look, this is incorrect. We've done study, we've done research, and we've found this?
One of the outstanding ones is that still in the community, saddle fitting is not valued very heavily by even elite riders. And I had a client today that was saying that their horse had been to a trainer, a high-level trainer, and she said, this is a saddle that's been highly recommended and very well fitted to this horse. Can you use that saddle and girth? Can you use that on this horse? Because it suits it nicely and it works really nicely in it. And the trainer said, yes, we can do that. And when she came back 6 weeks later to pick up the horse was a mess and had been ridden in the trainer's saddle. And she'd paid quite a deal of money and things had just gone backwards. And largely probably because of the saddle that was used by the trainer just because it suited the trainer to use that saddle and they were used to it perhaps, and not really valuing the importance of very individual saddle fit for a horse.
Yes.
So that's a really common and major one.
If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com. Tell me if I'm wrong, but kissing spine, is that related to saddle fitting?
Kissing spine is related to postural problems, which can be made worse by saddle fitting. Definitely, it's a whole mixture of causes that go together to lead to kissing spines. But if they've got pain associated with kissing spines, that's going to make it very hard for them to comfortably carry a saddle and rider. Okay. Just thinking about the general treatment that you do. When people contact you, what's a common thing that they call you up or, you find out the horse is doing what and what's caused it? There's a big mixture of things that people call me for. Sometimes it's just pain when they're brushing their horse.
Yep.
Often it's because their horse is uneven in their stride or has trouble taking one canter or is not moving forward or is short in one hind leg. They're all very common issues in horses. And often together with that, their behaviour has either deteriorated or the rider doesn't realise that the horse's behaviour has been quite badly affected and they can be quite amazed after horses have one or two treatments, the difference in the horse's behaviour as a result of the treatment.
And then within the treatment, what's the most common? Like you're saying, a couple of different things that people might call you about. Is it one common problem that the horses have, or just tell us a little bit more. It's just that the podcast, we need to educate people, and if we can give people a little bit of education and say, look, if your horse has got this problem, you need to contact someone. You need to sort it out and see someone about it because the horse is trying to tell you something. So how can we give people a little bit more information? You've given a couple of symptoms there. What's the possibility? What could this be? Obviously, if there's something wrong with the horse, they should contact someone. But, just a little bit more information about that would be great.
It's many and varied, but there are common patterns that are associated particularly with birth trauma that leads back to the same patterns we see in foals and weanlings and yearlings. and unridden horses, like harness horses, so the same patterns occur in those as ridden horses. From my research, of clinical research, and backed up by a whole lot of research papers on the trauma to foals and the way horses are asymmetrical, this is something that is a big underlying factor, and that the problems associated with the trauma leave the horse often with pain that makes them very susceptible to saddles that are not comfortable and girths that are not comfortable for them, and then that exacerbates all their problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So basically, if there's a problem, they should really see, and should they see a vet? Should they see someone who does specialise? What's the recommendation that they should see or should contact, or should they contact you and you would tell them someone in their area? Or how can we get it better so that these problems are recognised, but not just recognised, but something done about them?
Sadly, most veterinarians are not all well trained in the aspects of spinal function. That's why there are postgraduate courses to do that.
Okay.
The current probably ranks as the best course in the world is the Animal Biomechanical Medicine course, which is a graduate diploma course.
Mm-hmm.
That can go on to a master's degree, like I from that one, mine from at the university, but now that will continue with that. But the graduate diploma currently through the VET sector. But the animal biomechanical medicine practitioners are highly trained at recognising spinal issues and dysfunction, and also with ways to address it, mainly through manual means, and then some of those practitioners go on to do acupuncture or have done veterinary acupuncture before, and then others go on to do as well regenerative injection therapy or prolotherapy, as I do the combination of all three.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they find those practitioners? The Animal Biomechanical Professionals Australia website is where those people trained that want to be listed but aren't too already overwhelmed by clients.
Yes.
Are listed on that site.
Great. And we can have a link to that site as well as a link to your site at the bottom of your page, which will be horsechats.com/Ian Bidstrup. Ian, tell us a little bit about acupuncture. It's quite an old medicine, isn't it? It's not something that is new. It's an old medicine.
Yeah, acupuncture goes back some 5,000 years.
I should say an old treatment. Yes, not, yeah.
Mm. And it is a medicine in itself,
mm-hmm.
that's through stimulating the nervous system via needles. And when a needle goes into a tissue, causes reaction and inflammation at the end of the needle, which then connects the acupuncture point basically with the brain and the local spinal segments and the local muscle innervation areas. So it has widespread influences, and it's certainly an ancient art, as they call it, but it also is backed up by a lot of science these days as well, to the likes of functional MRIs and things that look at the actual influence of a point on different parts of the brain and the influence that point has in disease states and in normal states. It's quite different.
Okay. Just thinking about a case study. Have you got a case study? I'm going to be greedy and have two. One to do more along the lines of your work, and I know it's all related, but to do with your spinal health or your chiropractic work. Have you got a case study to do with that? And I'd also like to be greedy and ask you about a case study to do with chiropractic as well. Sorry, not to do with acupuncture as well.
Okay, on the horses, I tend to always do a combination of chiropractic, acupuncture, and prolotherapy.
Okay, you said that before.
So,
yep.
The only cases I just do veterinary chiropractic on are foals.
Okay.
And because they're young, their body hasn't established too much in the way of nasty patterns through of movement through the body and tissue changes that go along with it and bone changes that go along with it. So chiropractic alone is quite often all that's really required in fold. So as far as case studies, every case I do could be a case study, so I'm not sure.
All we need is one. I just think that people can, you can give general information, but I think if you have a case study, maybe even a fold that wasn't going to progress well, and maybe it's progressed well and gone on and done something. Yeah.
Righto. The horse this week that came back 2 weeks after its initial treatment. For instance, as a clear case, it had trouble going forward, trouble taking the right lead, stepping short on the near hind. And after just one treatment, that horse was moving forward well. Not only that, it was more relaxed in the paddock. It was coming up to the owner it was actually coming up to the owner instead of running away when they came out to catch it. Yep. So because that was not an unusual case as far as how they proceed.
So if your horse has got unusual behaviour, if it's, maybe just stepping that little bit short, but also within its work or within its riding, not picking up leads, then that's the sort of things. And they can be subtle differences too, can't they? Not really big ones, but just subtle.
They can be quite subtle or they can be quite obvious ones. And there's a whole spectrum of degree of trouble. Sometimes it's very subtle. They may show no sign of pain, and the only thing is when we check the spinal mobility, that there are functional problems with the spine, that it's stiff in mobility through certain areas. And that may be the only symptom of the problem or the only corresponding issue with the problem. And horses like that often go really well. It certainly is very hard for a rider or instructor or anyone to pick, other than the fact they might pick the horse has got a problem.
What about with horse care? Is there anything that you'd like to see? Is there, just a message to get out there? Is there any type of care that you think if people just change this, then the horse would benefit? You've talked about saddle fitting, but is there anything else that you'd really like to say? Just have a look at this, or just change this habit, or just change the way that you care for the horse in this way?
Well, certainly saddle fitting and saddle suitability, which is just as important as the fit and is often disregarded, is super important. Preparing the horse for work is something that's often not done, and unless the horse is misbehaving badly to the point where it's bucking and carrying on, people often will forget about lunging the horse and warming it up well for its exercise. So having, it's really, one doesn't go so well without another, because horses that are sore will not lunge very well often. One of the symptoms of back soreness, that a horse will go well on one rein on the lunge and go silly on another rein. But lunging over poles, as on my website, is a really important exercise, really important preparation, and that's one of the most important things people can do for a horse.
All right. If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com. Ian, just thinking about going forward, and I know how thirsty you are for knowledge, and to benefit the horse owners, of course, because the more knowledge you have, the more you explore all these different areas, the more that horses are going to benefit, horse owners are going to benefit. Have you got anything in the next 12 months or 2 years that you're planning on studying or exploring a bit more besides your, because I'm sure that every time you go out to see a horse, you'll learn more. But is there anything else in particular, any particular area you're going down?
The Animal Biomechanical Medicine group have conferences every year, as we do the Veterinary Acupuncture group.
Yes.
So that's ongoing, and there are side issues with that. Veterinary professional development courses are starting to happen in this country, which is VetPD, which is in addition to the hundreds of courses that we have got available to us as regular veterinarians these days. So that happened. But next spring, next September, I've been invited to talk at a veterinary conference in Germany.
Okay, good.
And likely to be speaking in a veterinary conference in Poland as well. The one in Poland on acupuncture and one in Germany on back issues. The one in Germany, Professor Sue Dyson, Dr. Sue Dyson, from the Animal Health Trust, is one of the main speakers as well. And it will be a wonderful opportunity to discuss things with her, as well as Dr. Ricky Schultz, who's getting famous for her work on fascia in horses. So they will be there, as well as some very enlightened practitioners. So, and the same with the Veterinary Acupuncture Congress in Poland.
Yep.
So that's ahead next year, amongst other things.
Okay. All right. Now, Ian, if you're going to just summarise your, what we've talked about, just the main sentence or two to do with horse care, a message to the horse owners, horse riders, horse handlers, and horse people out there, what would your message be, just in a sentence or two?
I think my main message would be to say that back problems in horses have a major influence on horse performance, behaviour and longevity. And thus, I think they need to get much more importance in the way people look at caring for their horse. And that said, it's very important to get into the deeper levels of spinal problems and not just smooth over the surface, as so often happens. So that'd be one of the main things. And to realise, and I'd love my own veterinary profession to realise better that back problems are a major cause of lameness in horses, and therefore cost to horse owners, and cost not only in dollars, but cost in performance and behaviour and longevity again, for the horse owners have to wear if their beloved horse has to be retired early. And I would love to see my profession both understand better about back problems in horses and give it much more importance in their view of horses.
In the first ever veterinary, I suppose, degree that you need to have before you qualify as a vet, is there enough there, or could there be more about backs within that study?
I'm not on top of the syllabus completely these days, but the feedback I have from recent graduates is that they're still very deficient in the sort of things that we teach at the graduate diploma course. That is beyond the scope of what is taught, which is really sad, because the things that are taught at that course involve virtually every horse you see, and too often veterinary degrees concentrate on such a wide number of things, but they don't. Being a problem that is so common, you would think it would get much more of an importance rating in the course, and it's almost neglected. other than sort of disease. Kiss and spines is mentioned big time, and certain sacroiliac problems and so forth. But that's just scraping the surface of really what's going on, and looking at the medical or surgical therapies for those is actually missing the point of why they're there.
Yep. All right. Now, you've got a couple of websites. You've got one where veterinary graduates can go to find out more. Where would you recommend them to go?
The ABFA website, abm.com.au,
Yep.
has got information on it about spinal problems. And my own website,
Yep.
spinalvet.com.au, has also got a lot of information that's hopefully in the next month or two going to have the update I've been trying to do for about 7 years.
Okay.
With information that is really designed for the public, but it's also information that most veterinarians are not very aware of.
Okay.
So that the two sites, just for starters, there is a huge amount of information throughout the world on spinal problems now. It's a matter of getting it lifted into the perspective of the universities. And there are some universities, I should say, that are teaching acupuncture and spinal manipulation type courses around the world. So it's happening, but the majority of the universities consider that not really of their calibre, which shame.
All right. Well, look, I think, all we can do is put the message out there that it is a big problem and that it's a major issue, and it's also a major cause of lameness, and it has a big effect on horses, and the horse's well-being. That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
I think we've got a wide variety of listeners, but even though they come from a lot of different backgrounds and have a lot of different interests and a lot of big goals, the common denominator is the welfare of the horse. And I think if we can get this message out there and it improves the welfare of the horse, then I think we've done our job.
Yeah, I think that's a great portion of it, and it actually comes back to the welfare of the owner too.
Yes. Yep.
Because if the horse is not comfortable, it may back them off.
Yeah.
It may trip front or back or both, and may badly injure the beloved daughter or son of a mother and father too. So it's so important in that regard as well as just the general enjoyment of having a horse. If it's feeling better and it's more comfortable, then it's going to get along with you better, and that can be so important to our relationship with horses. Yep,
for sure. Ian, been great talking to you. I think you've got a really important message there, and if you want to come back and talk again and talk in a lot more depth in particular areas, which I know we could go down and talk at a lot more depth than what you have today, but it's been a good overview just to talk to people and sort of introduce them to the whole spinal health. So thank you for coming. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Glenys. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Now, if you're still there, you probably know that I'm absolutely passionate about education within the horse industry. That's why I host this podcast. My other venture is Online Horse College. Have a look now at onlinehorsecollege.com, and I'll see you over there.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.